Hello, my name is Josh, and I'm a watchaholic. Welcome to Horology Insanity.
What is up, my watch friends? So check this out. You can see I've got the scale and the calipers out. This is going to be another one of those not a review videos. And today I want to look at this. Now, I still don't know that I know how to pronounce this. It's Dumoreau. I think the EAU is O in French. And so, yeah, if I'm butchering this, y'all know that I can't pronounce anything properly, and so don't take it personally, and definitely don't take it against this watch manufacturer, because the watch is actually amazing. And so let's get into it. Let's talk specs. Let's talk all these other things. Let's get the scale turned on so that I can take a weight of it, because this thing is crazy light. At least it feels like it is on wrist. I've been wearing this, wrist check. I don't even have a watch on because I was wearing this. And honestly, I've been enjoying it so much, I didn't want to take it off. And I think here's the biggest factor for me is I'm surprised by how much I enjoy this watch. And so we'll talk about that in a little bit, but let's get it on the scale. And that's with all the links that I had that came with it. Granted, this is the prototype watch, but you can see here 124 or so grams, and that's not bad. It's really not bad at all, considering that some of your like titanium G-Shocks and whatnot, my titanium watches will weigh right in around 100, and then you always hear us talking about the sweet spot is right around 150, and then you've got some chunky monkeys and some heavy ones that might get closer up to around 200. So at 124, that makes sense why this watch is so comfortable to wear, and why, honestly, when it was on a wrist, I just kind of forgot that it was there, but in a totally good way. And then when I would peek down at it or need to check the time, I'd be like, oh yeah, oh, it's there. And not only is it there, but it's really attractive. It's really good to look at. So anyway, let's get into the specs and other things. Now, Dumoreau, that's how I'm going to pronounce it. We'll see how that goes. Dumoreau is a company based out of Huntington Beach, California. And so if you're familiar with companies like Notice in the microbrand space, or Dryden, again, another microbrand, you'll know that, like, I think Notice is also based in California, and Dryden, I think, is in Kansas City. I don't know if that's Kansas or Missouri, though. But anyway, basically the way that they do it is they get the parts in and things like that, but then they assemble them here. And one of the greatest aspects of that, in my opinion, and I've noticed it in both my Notice and my Dryden watches, is that the QC for them and the overall attention to detail when these things are being put together, it's a little bit of a step above most other micro brands. And the reason is because they can pay attention to detail. They can swap out crowns if they're not happy with one, or a handset if they're not happy with it. And so I think that that's pretty neat. Now, this model number is called the DM01. And this, like I said, is a prototype watch. It had a successful Kickstarter. So the overall batch number for this is 100 watches. That's what they're trying to produce. This is their first watch. This is like their launch piece. And it's a guy named Carlo and two of his friends. And they kind of came together. They're watch enthusiasts like so many other micro brand owners and developers are. They're just watch hobbyists, and they wanted to try out the micro brand space. And so they came up with this. So their first batch, they got 100. What they did is they took the Kickstarter campaign and they basically looked to sell 77 of that 100 on Kickstarter. I get the sense that they sold all 77 of them because the campaign is funded, and after the 77 sold on Kickstarter, they had 23 remaining. And the website, as of looking at it right before filming this, they've sold 20 of those 23, and they're saying there's only 3 left. So by the time you see this, I don't know if you can or cannot buy one. You may be able to find one in the secondary market. Since this was successful, we may be able to see if they come out with another batch of these, or to see what their future design looks like. I'll say that just my first impressions of this one, I'm curious to see what else that they can come up with. And that's because I like this watch. And so I'm curious to see what other takes they might have on some classic designs and how they want to make that play into, another microbrand watch. Now, the overall aesthetic, which you can kind of see with this integrated bracelet, is, and they say this, it's a 70s aesthetic. This is meant to look a little retro. It's meant to look a little classic. And I don't know, I think they hit the nail on the head. Now, I am going to suggest that you watch, there is another YouTube channel called Design, I don't know how to pronounce it, I don't know. I'm going to put a link down in the description of this video, and I'm going to suggest that you go watch his channel and of course sub to it and everything, because he puts out great content. But he does a great job, I think, of kind of talking about what has all merged aesthetically to come up with this design. And so if you look at it, you can see it's got a little bit of Gerald Genta in it, like a Royal Oak, especially with the dial. It's got a little bit of a flair from Patek Philippe. And so I don't know exactly what kind of inspired the designer of this, or Carlo and his buddies, when they came up with this. But I would say that they're definitely playing off of some classics, some really, really high-end, high horology classics in coming up with this design. Now, with that said, they have 4 colorways of this. You can see I've got the silver one in my hand, and it is definitely silver. It's bright. You can see it's got the sunburst effect, in addition to having the crosshatch pattern, kind of that grenade pattern on the dial. But with that, the styling and whatnot is really nice. Now, pros and cons of everything, I will say that this colorway, every now and then in the right or maybe wrong lighting, the hands get a little lost and the legibility is a little tough. But when you have monochromatic dial handsets and aesthetics, that's just the way it goes. Contrasting hands always pop better. And so I'd love to see this watch in blue or black, which is 2 of their other colors. And then the last one they have is green. Now, I just love blue. I love blue watches. And so my first choice on this one would be the blue dial. And I kind of wish that I had received that one. Now, as usual, this is a tour watch, I'm only doing a video of it because I've enjoyed the watch so much. And, I don't get anything for doing any of this. It's just my normal type of video. All right. So other than that, let's take a look at kind of the overall measurements of it, because they have some pretty specific measurements that they give. And I'm curious to see how close, they really come to it. So let's see here. 38.4 on the case, and they say 38.6. And so that could be, depending without the crown or where you grab it, you'd be able to get that. Now, I will say the way that this wears, it wears like a thin 40. It doesn't wear small. It doesn't wear quite as small as the 38 millimeter measurement would lead you to believe. And I think it's because you got this pretty sizable bezel going on here. It's a fixed bezel, and you have the case shape with the integrated bracelet that gives it a little bit more heft and a little bit more hunk. So y'all know I have an 8-inch wrist, and even with my wrist, this thing, it really wears well. It doesn't wear small for me, and usually 38s are a little small depending on the case design, and this one, I think they knocked it out of the park. So if you're sitting here thinking, well, maybe that's too small, it might be. If you love huge divers and whatnot, well then, yeah, this may not be up your alley. But it definitely doesn't wear as small as the measurement says. Now, let's go ahead and look. It says 46.72 lug to lug, and you'll notice it's got kind of these center links, and so I'm curious where they're grabbing it. Man, I don't even know if I can get this from behind the camera. Let's just go overall. You could see at the center link overall, I'm getting close to 49.2. And again, maybe that's some of why I don't think it wears small. A lug to lug like that, it really does have some wrist presence from top to bottom. But they say 46.72, and I'm guessing they're trying to grab it from the edge of this case right here to the edge of this case right here. And that might be a measurement that I'm just, having a hard time getting from behind the camera. Now, the best measurement of all is the thickness, because this thing is thin, and I think that's why I love it the most. They say 9.75, I get 9.6, and that right there is the measurement to beat all measurements. In my opinion, every watch should be this thin. Every watch should be this thin and wear this well on wrist. And here's what's interesting about it. Now, let me go ahead and zoom in a little bit. You'll notice that I've talked in a couple of other videos about the way that the case shape can alter the way that it wears on wrist and how thin or thick it might feel on wrist. This has a little bit of that going on. You'll notice that the case back underneath here is kind of protruding down into the wrist, but that they've centralized the spacing of the lug so that that under part there is really not noticeable in height. Now, you'll also notice that the way that they've got this, I don't know if this is, I'm guessing it's a two-piece case construction, but the way that they have the main part of the case right here, and then they have this fixed bezel above it, that really makes it feel even thinner than it is. And it really is, when it's on wrist, I think that's why I've been enjoying it. Y'all know I love thin watches. And if it's over like 10 mil, maybe 12 mil, I complain that it should be thinner. And they really knocked it out of the park. I think that's the number one attribute. Well, there's a close second with the taper on the bracelet. I'll talk about this bracelet in a second. But I think the overall thinness right here is why I enjoyed wearing this watch as much as I did. It's fantastic on wrist. So now let's talk about the bracelet. It does have an integrated bracelet. So if you want to be able to do strap pairings and things like that, yeah, this maybe ain't your watch. However, this bracelet is fantastic. And I've got, in the next video, I'm going to show some comparisons. I've got some other watches. I'm going to compare this bracelet to like Laurier and a couple of other really good bracelets that I enjoy wearing. My Ors 65, for example, because this reminds me of them. You'll notice that not only does it have like the fully articulating links that really help it be comfortable on wrist, but it also has this fantastic taper. And they say, I didn't take a measurement of it, but they say it goes from 22.72 up here at the top down to 16. See if I can get that. I'm close, 22.8, yep. And they say it goes down to 16 down here at the clasp, and they nailed it. So I will say, these guys, if they're good at one thing, it's measurements. You can trust them. But with this, the taper is what makes this thing so comfortable. Now, I was going to put it on. I want to wear it. Like, I want to just put it on, and then I don't want to take it off. That's the kind of effect that this watch has. But here's the, well, I'm going to call it a con. It has a pressure fit butterfly clasp. Now, butterfly clasps in general get a lot of hate, and I can totally see why they do, even though I don't mind them. I really don't. And I've not minded it in this one. Now, the only thing that I've minded in this one is the fact that once I have it closed, when I've got it on the wrist, I don't notice it. You know, it's thin. It's almost like a bracelet. It really is nice. And the tapering is just wonderful underside the wrist here. The problem is the pressure fit to get it off. And I don't know if they're going to smooth that out a little bit. Again, this is just a prototype, but I really wish that it had a 2-button pusher system the way that some of these other butterfly clasps do. I'll talk about this more in the next video. Oh yeah, this is the Zelos swordfish, and I've got this Gekoda or watch gecko bracelet on it. But you'll notice that they have this really nice, boop, you push those 2 buttons and it pops open. Now, that might make the overall clasp a little bit thicker, but the functionality, I think, maybe makes it worth it, especially because on the underside of the wrist, I don't know how much you're going to notice it. Now, oh, the spoiler alert, this is the Formex Essence. This has a butterfly clasp. This has a fantastic 2-button pusher. Open that up, and then this side is pressure fit. But this one, wait, where is it? I don't know where it is. This one has a built-in, I think it's right here, adjustment. See? So you can actually get a little bit of micro adjust in the watch. And so I think this is fantastic. The Formex, that bracelet is really nice. This one reminds me a lot of the Formex bracelet. So again, Nothing but good things to say about this one, except for the fact of, I don't love this clasp. And the pressure trying to get it popped open. See, now you can see I'm even playing with it. I don't want to break it. There we go. I guess you got to get it just right. I don't love that. But thankfully, when it's on wrist, you don't notice it. I don't sit here and take things on and off. I don't do whatever. And so for me, it works really well. So I think that, yeah, when you look at the thinness of this, and then you look at the overall taper and the comfort of this bracelet, it's a winner. It's a winner. I didn't want to take it off. And that's even with the cons. It's even with the clasp that I don't love. It's even with the, dial that I wish was blue, right? No, it's just, that's where I'm at. This was an absolute joy to have on my wrist. And that's kind of the way that I'll sum up this video. Price is $395, and it's got the Miyota movement in it. I don't hate the pricing. It's not a great value, but I don't hate it. For me, I thought that I was not going to like this watch. I'm just going to be honest with you. I don't love every watch that I get in, right? And I get a lot of watches. In fact, I don't even love all the watches that I buy, much less the ones that get loaned into me. And this one, I don't know why, but I didn't think I was going to care for it. I really didn't. And then I kind of get into the dilemma and I debate myself in my head. When I don't like a watch, like, should I do a video on it? And if so, should I actually say what I really think? And because I'm not going to do a video and not say what I actually think, right? I have a big, no. Never going to do that. However, I don't have to make videos of any of these watches. I don't. This channel is 100% solely whatever I want to do. And so with this, I got this one. I didn't think I was going to like it. I actually thought I probably won't do a video on it. And then I put it on. And then I wore it for a couple of days. And then I realized I didn't want to take it off. And now I'm sitting here making a video on it. So take that for what it's worth. This is kind of how it ended up. I dig this watch, and if it's your thing, if you see this and you are attracted to the styling, if you're attracted to the integrated bracelet, if you're attracted to the overall retro fit, if you're attracted to the dial and the plays and maybe the inspiration that it's getting from Patek Philippe and a couple of others, then I don't think you're going to dislike this watch when you actually get it and put it on wrist. That's just me. That's kind of my take on it. Anyway, check back in the next one. I'm going to set this up side by side with a whole bunch of other watches, and we'll do some comparisons. And with that, my friends, until we talk again, please remember what really matters, and that's not watches. Keep the insanity sane.